You've been running from silence your entire life. Every quiet moment, you fill it. Phone out. Music on. Another conversation. Another scroll. Another distraction. Anything to avoid being alone with yourself. And I need to ask you something. What are you so afraid of finding in there? Because the men who built great lives, the ones who became unshakable, they didn't run from the silence. They walked straight into it. And what they found on the other side changed everything. This is about solitude, and why learning to embrace it might be the most powerful thing you ever do. We live in the most distracted era in human history. The average man checks his phone over 100 times a day. We sleep with it next to our head. We eat with it in our hand. We can't sit in a waiting room for 3 minutes without reaching for it. And none of this is an accident. Every app, every notification, every feed is engineered specifically to make you afraid of stopping. Because a man who stops, a man who sits in silence, starts to think. And a man who thinks clearly is very hard to manipulate. They need you distracted, addicted to noise, running. The question is, are you going to keep running? Look at the most powerful creatures on Earth. The lion doesn't hunt in a crowd. He moves through the grass alone, silent, utterly focused. The eagle doesn't circle with a flock. He climbs alone, above everything, with a view no one else can see. The wolf, even the one that leads the pack, separates himself when he needs to think, when he needs to sharpen. Nature's most dangerous, most capable animals understand something modern men have forgotten. Power requires stillness. Greatness requires solitude. You are not meant to be switched on, available, performing 24 hours a day. Some of your most important work happens in the quiet. Here's a distinction most people get wrong. Loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness is a wound. It's the pain of needing connection and not having it. Nobody is telling you to seek that out. Solitude is a choice. It is deliberately stepping away from the noise to be fully present with yourself. It is not absence. It is presence. The most intense kind. The man who fears being alone has never learned to be with himself. And a man who can't be with himself will spend his whole life needing other people to complete him, to distract him, to tell him who he is. That is not strength. That is dependence. When you stop running and sit with yourself, things begin to happen. The noise of other people's opinions fades, and underneath it, you start to hear something you may not have heard in years. Your own voice. What you actually think. What you actually want. What actually matters to you, separate from what you were told, should matter. Your instincts sharpen. You start to notice patterns in your own thinking, the fears you've been avoiding, the decisions you've been delaying, the version of yourself you keep promising to become. Clarity is not something you can find in a crowd. It lives in the quiet places, and the only way to get it is to be willing to go there alone. The men throughout history who built something real, they all had a practice of solitude. Lincoln used to slip away from his advisors to sit alone and think through his hardest decisions. Nikola Tesla said his greatest ideas came in moments of complete isolation. Kobe Bryant woke at 4 in the morning, not just to train, but to be alone, to think, to sit inside his own mind without interruption. These were not men who feared silence. They pursued it like a weapon. They understood that the man who knows himself deeply cannot be shaken by anything the outside world throws at him. The strongest armor isn't built in the gym. It's built in the quiet. You don't need a mountain retreat. You don't need a week off the grid. You need 20 minutes. No phone, no music, no podcast. Just you, sitting still, letting your thoughts surface without immediately drowning them. It will feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is the point. You've trained your nervous system to need constant input. Withdrawing from that will feel like something is wrong. It isn't. It's just what healing feels like. Sit with it. Breathe through it. Stay. Because every time you choose the silence over the noise, you are building something that no one can take from you. The ability to be at peace inside your own mind. The world will always have noise for you. There will always be another distraction, another opinion, another reason to stay connected, to stay busy, to stay small. But somewhere underneath all of it is a version of you that hasn't been heard in a long time. A man with his own thoughts, his own vision, his own power. He's not lost. He's just been buried under the noise. Go find him. Not in the crowd, not in the feed, not in anyone else's voice. In the silence. That is where the unshaken man lives. Drop a comment below. When was the last time you sat in complete silence with no distractions? How long did you last? If this hit you, send it to a man who needs to hear it. You probably know exactly who. Subscribe to Unshaken Mind. New video every Monday. I'll see you next week.